You're doing quite well. Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Back in 2007, Valve was flexing their muscles when they dropped arguably the greatest video game collection to ever be released for a console, bringing the Orange Box to the Xbox 360. The collection was made up of the epic Half-Life 2, as well as the first standalone in the sequel, Episode 1. It also included the much-anticipated Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and Team Fortress 2, which was already a follow-up to a popular PC title, Team Fortress. But among these epic pillars of Valve was a new intellectual property.
Welcome to the Aperture Science Enrichment Center. Let's look at some of the challenges you'll face as a test participant.
Now, the games in the Orange Box stand among some of the finest games to ever be released for the 360, and arguably in gaming in general. And upon the release, most people wouldn't have thought that the smallest game in the package, the unknown game, would become the breakout star. But there's just something about Portal that felt special, even among a collection of already spectacular games. Once in a great while, something comes along that shakes up the entire industry, and Portal was definitely one of those titles, bringing a totally unique experience to both the puzzle genre and first-person gaming, and eventually dropping a sequel that solidified it as one of the most beloved franchises in all of gaming, introducing us to beloved characters and teaching us that the cake is a lie. It's rare to hear someone call a game perfect, but if there's a perfect game discussion, both entries in the Portal series would have to be involved. In this video, I'll be taking a deep dive into one of my absolute favorite franchises in gaming, the series that got the world to start thinking with portals. I'm the Unhinged Gamer, and this is my Portal franchise retrospective.
You're doing very well. Please be advised that a noticeable taste of blood is not part of any test protocol, but is an unintended side effect of the Aperture Science Material Emancipation Grip, which may, in semi-rare cases, emancipate dental fillings, crowns, tooth enamel, and teeth.
In 2009, I encountered the Orange Box for the first time. I was over at my friend Mike's house. Hi, Mike.
Hey there, Kenny!
And he insisted that I had to try Portal. At this point, I hadn't even heard of the game. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was still living in the age of the PlayStation 2, and I hadn't given much thought to moving on to the next generation of games. I had come over to his place to join with a few other friends in playing another Valve title, Left 4 Dead. And within minutes of starting up Portal, I was hooked. The moment I got through the first chamber, I knew that I just had to keep going. I ended up beating the game that night, surprised by how much I enjoyed the small title, and really surprised that I was able to get through it in such a short sitting. By the time I reached the end, I knew that I had to own this game. Not long after, I purchased my own 360, the cheap arcade edition. And I bought 3 titles to go with it. They were Oblivion, Left 4 Dead, and the Orange Box. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. At the time, I hadn't even really heard of Valve, assuming they were just some upstart company that just happened to create some amazing titles. And I wasn't that far off. Valve was founded in 1996 by Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington, 2 former employees of Microsoft. The first big project that they dropped was Half-Life, which was a massive critical success. Now, this company has a reputation for being ahead of the rest of the industry, setting the pace with their games. And though these days they're known best for their Steam platform, which is a giant in the PC gaming space. But anyways, back then, Valve still made their own games as opposed to selling you everyone else's. And the company put a very high value on creativity. They would seek out talented and hungry game designers to work for them, which leads us to the crew behind Portal. In 2005, a group of students from the Japan Institute of Technology developed a game as their senior project called Nabacular Drop. The premise was based around the protagonist using portals to make their way through a dungeon. It was a small game, but the premise was impressive. So impressive that when Gabe Newell saw it, he offered the team to come and work for Valve. Gabe knew that this portal idea was interesting and could really be something more. The more is what became Portal. The first year of development was focused on the mechanics, but as they entered the second year, the plan to build on the narrative began to develop. It was placed in the universe of Half-Life, but kept relatively separate. This is because the early builds were using a lot of assets from Half-Life games to save on cost, but as they went along, a shift to a more clinical look took over, and the idea that the player was being guided along by an AI led to the creation of the all-seeing GLaDOS.
As part of a required test protocol, our previous statement suggesting that we would not monitor this chamber was an outright fabrication. Good job. As part of a required test protocol, we will stop enhancing the truth in 3, 2.
The design of the game was pretty basic. White rooms for the most part, looking more like a hospital than anything with a real sense of identity, which ended up giving the game its own unique identity. We didn't need to see the world around us. We didn't need a day and night cycle. We didn't need to know anything like that. There was no real sense of the space that we were in. All you know is that you're in these four walls. The lack of details is what allowed even the smallest things to stand out even more to us, such as the voice of GLaDOS, and her personality would set the tone for the entire series. The premise of Portal is simple. You can fire 2 portals on flat white surfaces. You enter one and come out the other. That's really all there is to it. But what makes this so amazing is the way that this simple mechanic ends up being exploited and transformed to turn an otherwise basic puzzle game into something truly memorable. And that's because this really simple process of just placing and entering portals is perfected by the team. The puzzles increase in difficulty as you go. It's a steady climb as well. There aren't really spikes. It matches your understanding of the game. Portal is a game that constantly is teaching the player about the mechanics in the most natural way possible, by simply playing the game. The game begins with your character waking up in a small cell. There's a radio playing some upbeat music, and this is one of the first simple flexes of the game, as by simply moving and facing the radio from different angles, the sound changes to convey both depth and clarity.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. We hope you're...
After a few moments, the door is opened and you're led into the first testing chamber. We don't know anything at this point about who we are or why we're here. We only know that we have to test. It's easy at the start to not even be aware that there's a plot to this. And really, a game of fun puzzles is plenty enough to be a fine game. As you go along, you learn the mechanics of using pressure plates and portals, starting out with pre-placed portals before eventually gaining access to your own portal gun as you go. Between each puzzle, GLaDOS will talk to the player, offering praise, often backhanded, as well as little bits of information. And this is where the tone is set. It's just you, the test subject, and the voice. You're alone, but you're not. Every movement is being monitored and judged by this voice. And it starts off completely mechanical, sounding more like pre-recorded messages than someone who's actively talking to you. But as you move along, it becomes a bit more aware and interactive.
The Enrichment Center is committed to the well-being of all participants. Cake and grief counseling will be available at the conclusion of the test. Thank you for helping us help you help us all.
Eventually, you'll be given a partner for one of the tests, the weighted companion cube, which should be the same as any puzzle using boxes to navigate, but the game tells you that this cube is special to you. And as you go on, it actually kind of becomes true.
The symptoms most commonly produced by Enrichment Center testing are superstition, perceiving inanimate objects as alive, and hallucinations. The Enrichment Center reminds you that the weighted companion cube will never threaten to stab you and, in fact, cannot speak.
It's easy to get wrapped up in the objective, and when you think that you've reached the end, the voice comes back and gives you the unfortunate news. You cannot proceed with the companion cube. In order to move on, you're forced to destroy it.
The weighted companion cube certainly brought you good luck. However, it cannot accompany you for the rest of the test and, unfortunately, must be euthanized. Please escort your companion cube to the Aperture Science Emergency Intelligence Incinerator.
Now, this should not be difficult, but after being told how special the cube is, and using it as a partner to get through the test, it does hurt to be told that you have to destroy it. And when you do, the voice of GLaDOS tells you how impressive it was that you destroyed the cube so easily, rubbing it in and trying to make you feel terrible.
You euthanized your faithful companion cube more quickly than any test subject on record. Congratulations.
Intuitive controls are important in video games, and within moments of starting up this one, the controls just make sense and feel right. When you realize that the portal gun can be used on almost any surface in the game, it becomes even harder to put the controller down.
Momentum, a function of mass and velocity, is conserved between portals. In layman's terms, speedy thing goes in, speedy thing comes out.
The puzzles here all pretty much have one way to solve them, but they're laid out in a way that you feel like you found your own way to solve each one. The route to the solution is your own to forge, and when you're really creative, it's possible to feel like you've broken the game. Because in Portal, everything that you accomplish feels like you've accomplished it.
Due to mandatory scheduled maintenance, the appropriate chamber for this testing sequence is currently unavailable. It has been replaced with a live fire course designed for military androids. The Enrichment Center apologizes for the inconvenience and wishes you the best of luck.
The first real threat in the game comes when you're introduced to turrets, which I would count among the greatest enemies in video game history. These little simple white death machines push things to a whole new level for creating the atmosphere of a game. Aperture Science starts out as just the name of a generic testing facility, but this place ends up with some of the most amazing atmosphere of any game I've ever played, and a lot of it has to do with these little things, like just a simple turret. These little guys can cut you down in no time, but they're also fairly simple to dispatch. And there's a real thrill to sending a turret plummeting through a portal to its doom as they cry out, their programming unable to understand what's happening to them, as they just sort of self-destruct. I also absolutely love listening to the turrets when they think they've spotted you, as they'll ask politely if you're there, making them possibly the friendliest and most polite death machines ever. As you progress, if you're paying close enough attention, you'll notice a panel out of place, and that lets you slip behind the scenes of the testing facility. It's incredible to see this bit of color, the rust and dirt. It all seems so vibrant after staring at white clean walls for so long. This is the first glimpse that things aren't really what they seem. Before this point, the game feels like a basic yet really well designed puzzle game, where eventually you'll reach the reward of cake. If Portal had simply been that, it would have been a nice game that I would still recommend people check out. But here you first start to get a feeling that the cake may be a lie.
Congratulations. The test is now over. All Aperture technologies remain safely operational up to 4,000 degrees Kelvin. Rest assured that there is absolutely no chance of a dangerous equipment malfunction prior to your victory candescence. Thank you for participating in this Aperture Science computer-aided enrichment activity. Goodbye.
Eventually, you'll reach the final test chamber. By this point, I remember feeling like I'd played a nice, short game and was pretty excited to wrap it up. But as you turn the corner, you see a massive incinerator as GLaDOS gleefully tells you that your time in the testing facility has come to an end. But she does assure you that the portal device can withstand the flames. Now you've got to think fast here, casting portals and making it to safety. Now this is where things really take off. GLaDOS encourages you to stick around and to turn yourself in, insisting that it was all just a joke and that if you just wait long enough, they'll come and retrieve you and take you to your cake. Of course, you have to refuse this and you retreat into the backroom area of the facility where GLaDOS can't see you. Then you see just what a mess Aperture Science has become. There's no humans anywhere in sight, aside from the scribbling on the walls from someone who's trying to let you know that the things are really messed up here. You'll make your way into offices and see that this place indeed used to be an active center, but now it seems like you may be the only human left. You'll make your way deeper through the facility using the portal gun to find ways to traverse the building as tension mounts. GLaDOS will set up traps and obstacles, trying desperately to unalive you, not wanting you to escape. My first time playing through Portal, I remember feeling like I'd almost done something wrong by this point. I could feel the stress and tension as I made my way through the facility, trying to figure out just what had happened here, trying to understand where the employees were. The only thing I knew for sure was that I could not put the controller down.
Well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it? Because despite your violent behavior, the only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart. Maybe you could say—
With enough perseverance, you'll reach GLaDOS' chamber, finally seeing the massive mega computer that runs the facility. As she's talking to you, she drops a core and feigns confusion about what it is, insisting that it's nothing important, which turned out to be a fun twist as she's using reverse psychology after she's realized that you tend to do the opposite of what she says ever since she tried to incinerate you. The only thing to do here is to send this core into an inferno. Now, don't feel bad here. GLaDOS has been taunting you the entire game, and as we already stated, she did try to incinerate you. After the first core is burned, GLaDOS lets you know that that was the core that prevented her from filling the chamber with deadly neurotoxin, explaining that she had used that same neurotoxin before to kill everyone in the facility. And of course, she then begins pumping it through the vents and starts to launch missiles at you. Now at this point, you have no choice. You're in a battle against time to take down this overgrown motherboard. Now you use your portals to trick her into firing the rockets at herself. Each hit will send another core free for you to take and destroy, each core having its own unique personality. If you manage to beat the clock and wreck enough cores, it leads to GLaDOS having a meltdown. At this point, you've done it. you've destroyed the evil robot that has been pulling the strings this whole time. After the battle, after GLaDOS has been destroyed, you wake up on the surface, finally seeing sunlight and some real life out there before passing out. And that's it. You've won the game, and the credits begin. But in sticking with the theme of the game, even the end credits show so much personality, as the incredible Jonathan Colton song Still Alive plays. Recapping your experience before letting you know, tauntingly, that GLaDOS is very much still alive. The game was short. You can complete it in about 2 hours, probably less if you're really good at it. But on a first play, 2 hours is really all it should take roughly to get through it. And it's 2 hours that you'll feel like you've spent out of your life playing a damn fine video game. We did learn the main character's name was Shell, eventually. A female silent protagonist, and there were drops of lore from the game as it went. The Black Mesa reference in the closing song, for example, being proof that it's connected to the Half-Life universe. And for a while, that was it. Portal was an incredible game with a hell of a twist, and in the very end, you got your cake. Life was good. But Valve wasn't finished yet, and there was still more science to be done.
We're really pleased to welcome to the stage for the first time.
Stand by for an important announcement from the Aperture Science Emergency Surprise System. Deploying surprise in 3, 2, 1.
In 2010, Valve announced that a full-length sequel to Portal was on its way, and it was met with a lot of excitement. The first game had been a critical success and had fans eagerly hoping for more. But this was Valve, and they've always done things their own way, so there was no guarantee that it would ever happen. I mean, after all, we've never seen a Left 4 Dead 3 or true Half-Life 3. Sorry, Alex, you're great, but it's just not the same. Portal 2 had a bigger budget and came into existence because there were developers within Valve who really just wanted to work on another Portal entry. Valve works differently than other companies. This wasn't a project driven by sales alone off the original. This was a project by people who wanted to do it. The staff for Portal 2 was more than triple the size of the crew behind the first, though Portal designer Kim Swift left Valve about halfway through the development of Portal 2. The game was a huge challenge. They had to do more than just create new test chambers. The first game was incredible and immediately grew a strong fan base. Now, Valve knew that they had to find a way to expand and innovate beyond what they'd already done before. And I've got to say that they succeeded on every level. The promotion for the game included a series of commercials by Aperture Science, promoting various products, which really served as a means of showing off some of the features of the new game. And the best part is that it was all voiced by J.K. Simmons, and shy of asking for pictures of Spider-Man,
Tomorrow morning, Spider-Man, page 1 with a decent picture this time.
his performance is perfect.
Cave Johnson here. Every time I look at our test chamber production line, I am reminded of my father. Now, he wasn't a scientist, just a simple farmer, a professor of farming at the local farm college. Never farmed a day in his life, but his theories on farming are the backbone of this company. Do it from scratch. Spare no expense. And never cut corners. Well, that's a corner-cutting machine. We obviously cut them there. Point is, we've always done things the way my father did. And his father before him, and his father before him, and his father before him. And we are almost bankrupt. So, time for a cheaper approach.
He voiced Cave Johnson, who we will learn about throughout the game, as the founder and owner of Aperture. Portal 2 was released to pretty much universal commercial and critical praise, having accomplished the goal of transforming and expanding on the first game in basically every way, while managing to still stay true to the feeling and spirit of the original. And with that said, let's take a look at the game's story.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 50 days. In compliance with state and federal regulations, all testing candidates in the Aperture Science Extended Relaxation Center must be revived periodically for a mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise.
Portal 2 opens with the player waking up in a small hotel room. Everything's automated here, and you're told that you're actually in an Aperture Science relaxation chamber. This is where you get to do some light exercises and tests, which basically allow you to start orientating yourself with the controls, while showing you right away that the character of the game has not faded at all from the first.
You should now feel mentally reinvigorated. If you suspect staring at art has not provided the required intellectual sustenance, reflect briefly on this classical music.
And after a brief time awake, you return back to sleep, and this is where things get interesting.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 9999999. This courtesy call.
You awaken again a little bit later to find that something is very wrong. The room that you're in is a total disaster, looking decrepit, and the automated messages are telling you that you've been asleep for, well, yeah, you've been here a while. As you look around and try to figure out just what's going on, a bot or a personality core enters the room to greet you before heading up into the ceiling and warning you that, well, you'll find out. Now, you're also informed that you may have serious brain damage from your time in hypersleep, which you then help to confirm that when you try to speak shortly before the room begins to move.
Do you understand what I'm saying at all? Does any of this make any sense? Just tell me, just say yes. Okay, what you're doing there is jumping. You just jumped, but never mind.
Now, Wheatley, as you'll learn he is called, is trying to get you out of this holding area, and his best idea is to ram your room through another wall. Really clever sciencey stuff. Now, the first time I played through this game, I was just blown away by this entire opening sequence. The physics here are impeccable. The way everything moves around, it just feels natural, despite being in a very unnatural setting. Looking through the holes that are forming in your crumbling room as it moves around the facility, you get a glimpse into just how massive the Aperture facility is. And the wildest thing is, you've not seen anything yet. After the wall is opened up, you drop through a glass ceiling into a test chamber, which is clearly in a terrible state of disrepair. A portal opens up to let you start your journey, trying to make your way through the Aperture Science Testing Center. Now, this time you get to see this once pristine area now overgrown, and it's just so jarring, especially coming right off of playing the first game. The pre-recorded messages here give you a feeling similar to the original, but things have clearly changed.
If you feel liquid running down your neck, relax, lie on your back, and apply immediate pressure to your temples. You are simply experiencing a rare reaction in which the material emancipation drill may have emancipated the ear tubes inside your head.
Perhaps this was the original voiceovers before GLaDOS took over. As you make your way through the dilapidated test chambers, you end up dropping through a floor that's damaged, and you have to continue along a dark path until you see all sorts of insane artwork on the walls of a smaller room that seems to almost be a shrine to you. And then There's the initial piece to the portal gun. I played this days after beating the original while preparing for this video, but I remember the first time I played the game and it felt like I'd been playing it for years. I spoke earlier about how the original game had a sterile feel to it, and this one could not be much further from that. But the remnants of the past keep it all grounded and familiar.
Catch me, catch! Ow! Ow! I'm not dead! I'm not dead!
You make your way through a few test chambers to get reacclimated to the game before Wheatley helps you out to get behind the walls of the test chamber, and he lets you know that in order to get out of here, you have to go through her room.
Probably ought to bring you up to speed on something right now. In order to escape, we're going to have to go through her chamber, and she will probably kill us if she's awake. If you want to just call it quits, and we can just sit here forever, that's an option. Option A, sit here, do nothing. Option B, go through there, and if she's alive, she'll almost certainly kill us.
Thankfully, we know that she's out of commission. But of course, moments after passing through, Wheatley expertly wakes GLaDOS up.
Okay, don't panic. All right, stop panicking. I can still stop this. Oh, there's a password. Okay, it's fine. I'll just hack it. Not a problem. A.
You're then greeted to one of the most intense scenes in the entire game as she takes back over her facility.
All right, new plan. Act natural. Nothing more. Hello.
Oh, it's you.
You know her?
It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really busy being dead. You know, after you murdered me.
You did what?
After she drops you off to get the rest of the portal gun, she then begins testing. But this time, GLaDOS taunts you. She's vindictive, and she lets you know exactly how she feels.
Here come the test results. You are a horrible person. That's what it says. A horrible person. We weren't even testing for that.
GLaDOS returns to what she does best, and it's time to start with the testing. The puzzles here jump up back to where you had been in the previous game, and they all set up ways for her to taunt you and just make you understand how in control she is now. This section is so hilarious to play through though, as GLaDOS just doesn't let up. You get to listen along as she introduces you to some of the mechanics of the game while playing through a series of simple yet fulfilling puzzles here. And if you like the first game, you're going to love this entire stretch right here, because these puzzles are just incredible. As good as the test chambers were in the first game, the ones presented here are a level beyond anything from the original. The broken walls of the center allow for more open-ended puzzles, and it makes you think about them in a different way than you ever had before. There's no need for any pretense here. No need for GLaDOS to play nice. She's holding a grudge against you, and she's determined to keep testing for the rest of your life. She only pauses long enough to deal with faulty doors and other issues that come with running this rundown facility.
Don't let that horrible person thing discourage you. It's just a data point. If it makes you feel any better, science has now validated your birth mother's decision to abandon you on a doorstep.
There's a feeling of danger here, like this entire structure could come crumbling down at any time. Eventually, during your testing, you'll start to see little bits of Wheatley. He survived being tossed aside by GLaDOS, and he's trying desperately to find a way to get out of here for the both of you. But it's going to take some time.
I have a surprise waiting for you after this next test. Telling you would spoil the surprise, so I'll just give you a hint. It involves meeting two people you haven't seen in a long time.
Eventually, GLaDOS starts talking about a surprise that she has for you. telling you that she's going to let you see your parents. And after you finally get there for the surprise, it's of course just a lie. Just more cruelty from the evil machine in charge of Aperture.
I made it all up. Surprise. Oh, come on. If it makes you feel any better, they abandoned you at birth. So I very seriously doubt they'd even want to see you.
After you spend enough time being insulted by GLaDOS and put through your paces with some incredible puzzles, you find a way to get out of the testing cycle, slipping behind the curtain to see more of this crumbling infrastructure. Wheatley will help guide you through and provide some fantastic dialogue here.
Come on, I'm closing the doors. Okay, quick recap. We are escaping. Alright, that's what's happening now. We're escaping. So you're doing great. Just keep running. Quick word about the future plans that I've got in store. We're going to shut down her turret production line, alright? Turn off her neurotoxin and then confront her. Again, though, for the moment, run!
And I gotta say, where the first game spent a lot of time letting you work in silence with this deep sense of isolation, at least through this portion of the game, it couldn't be any more different.
Made it through, well done. Okay, follow me. We've still got work to do. At least she can't touch us back here. What's happening? Okay. Don't move. Okay, alright, so I've got an idea, but it is bloody dangerous. Here we go. Ah! Oh, for God's... They told me that if I ever turned this flashlight on, I would die. They told me that about everything. I mean, I don't even know why they bothered giving me this stuff if they didn't want me to use it. It's pointless. Man.
Wheatley picks right back up where GLaDOS left off, guiding you through and giving you tons of banter. The first game, as I said, would make you feel isolated, but here, it's almost too much to take at this point. And I do mean that in a very good way.
They say at night you can still hear the screams of their replicas, all of them functionally indistinguishable from the originals. No memory of the incident, nobody knows what they're screaming about. Absolutely terrifying. Though obviously not paranormal in any meaningful way. Let's keep moving.
Along the path, you can take some steps to make things easier for yourself, such as replacing the master turret with one of the duds, meaning every turret that makes it across the assembly line has become completely harmless. These small things like this make you feel like you're really making a difference and you're really creating chaos here.
She won't find out all her turrets are crap until it's too late. Classic. Okay, keep your eye on the turret line. I'm going to go and hack the door open.
As you get closer, it becomes clear that a showdown with GLaDOS is inevitable. One of the last stops you get to make is going through a bunch of displays from a Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, and it apparently went very poorly. Aperture had decided that was the perfect time to turn on GLaDOS and just see how she could do in charge of the facility. Of course, she promptly killed several people in the facility using neurotoxin, and while that should have been enough reason to shut her back down forever, this is Aperture, and that's just not how they do science. One really interesting note here though, and this just shows the detail that's been put into this story and the work that's gone into it. Among the many potato batteries in this little experiment displays that the children have put together from the Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, there's a massive potato growing in one of the displays that was put together by a girl named Shell. Just gonna leave that out there. Anyways, after you get past the displays, you reach the neurotoxin control room, and you're able to use a laser and portals to disable and destroy the entire machine, which also ends up opening up a ventilation shaft that leads you directly to GLaDOS.
They told me it wasn't fun at all, so they said it's not fun at all. And I believed them. I know I was a fool to myself. I'm loving this. Whale of a time.
You of course fall into one last trick, being brought to her chamber where she attempts to kill you, only to find that your tricks have been completely successful in taking away her two most dangerous weapons. The facility then happens to pick up on Wheatley as being an alternative core in the chamber and has decided that GLaDOS is corrupted.
I've got an idea. Do what it says. Plug me in.
Do not plug that little idiot into my mainframe.
No, you should plug that little idiot into the mainframe.
Don't you dare plug him in.
Plug me in. Plug me in.
Don't do it.
So, Aperture's automated system decides to start a core replacement program that ends with the player having to go push a big red button to have GLaDOS removed and Wheatley put in control of the entire facility. And from here, your entire situation goes from bad to much worse.
How painful are we? Ah!
Hands off me. No. Stop. No. 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 No.
Wheatley flips out, the power seemingly corrupting him almost as immediately as he gains it. He stuffs GLaDOS into a potato battery before getting into a pretty nasty argument with her, where he just insists that he's not a moron. Of course, he also insists that you're arguing with him too, despite being completely silent.
I've done nothing but sacrifice to get us here. And what have you sacrificed? Nothing. Zero. All you've done is boss me around, haven't you?
And he decides to destroy the lift that you're trapped inside and sends you falling down an almost endless tunnel into the deepest bowels of Aperture. And while this scene felt like the end of the game in many ways, we're only just getting started here. Because now it's time to go back into the deep history of Aperture Science. This is it. Rock bottom of the facility. This place is beyond massive. GLaDOS has gone missing, but that's the least of your worries now. You're in an abandoned and long forgotten part of the facility, using portals in more unique ways here to traverse the wreckage down this. Eventually you come across a bunch of warning signs that let you know that you're about to enter a condemned testing area. But you've got no other choice if you ever want to get out of here. You'll proceed past several signs that are telling you to keep out before eventually opening up a vault in one of the most breathtaking scenes in Portal, which plays out in a way that only this game could possibly achieve. After entering the door and heading deeper into the facility, you approach what appears to have once been an entrance here. And this is where you're greeted by the voice of Cave Johnson, owner and founder of Aperture.
Welcome, gentlemen, to Aperture Science. Astronauts, war heroes, Olympians, you're here because we want the best. And you are it. So, who is ready to make some science?
I am.
Now, you already met one another on the limo ride over, so let me introduce myself. I'm Cave Johnson. I own the place. That eager voice you heard is the lovely Carolyn, my assistant. Rest assured, she has transferred your honorarium to the charitable organization of your choice. Isn't that right, Carolyn?
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson.
She's the backbone of this facility. Pretty as a postcard, too. Sorry, fellas. She's married. To science.
Approaching this facility from this side had me in awe of the sheer scope of what I was involved in. I felt like I may have been miles underground, but I was experiencing this incredible facility as they welcome the country's best and brightest to help them to advance science into the future in their quirky Aperture way.
Those of you helping us test the repulsion gel today, just follow the blue line on the floor. Those of you who volunteered to be injected with praying mantis DNA, I've got some good news and some bad news. Bad news is we're postponing those tests indefinitely. Good news is we've got a much better test for you. Fighting an army of mantis men. Pick up a rifle and follow the yellow line. You'll know when the test test starts.
Exploring the old facility is incredible. You get to see bits of history from the company, like realizing that it was started as Aperture Appliances and Cave Johnson sold shower curtains back in the 1940s. He grew up from that small business buying an old salt mine, which consequently helped me to understand just how far we were underground and how they came across such a massive place to put a facility. We're also introduced to Carolyn, Cave's secretary and closest confidant, and that voice is eerily familiar. Exploring the facility feels a lot like walking through a real place. You get a glimpse of a moment in time in this world, and as you're going through it, it feels real. The physics in Portal 2 are a level above anything else that was out at the time, and still above most games that have come out since. The use of portals here goes beyond what I ever could have imagined while playing the first game. The tagline about thinking with portals certainly has proven to be apt. Now that we're inside the testing facility again, the game returns to the classic formula, but with a very retro twist. Cave Johnson is providing a series of recorded messages, and I have to say these clips are amazing. They're arguably more important to the experience of Portal 2 than the actual puzzles.
What's Dick? If you've cut yourself at all in the course of these tests, you might have noticed that your blood is pure gasoline. That's normal. We've been shooting you with an invisible laser that's supposed to turn blood into gasoline, so all that means is it's working.
Cave's messages let you see a better picture of the rise and eventual fall of this organization. It's clear that he's completely mad and determined to do science his way, no matter the cost.
Science isn't about why, it's about why not. Why is so much of our science dangerous? Why not Mary save science if you love it so much? In fact, why not invent a special safety door that won't hit you on the butt on the way out? Because you are fired! Now you test subject, you're doing fine. Yes, you, box your stuff. Out the front door, parking lot, car, goodbye.
The first big new addition to this game is Repulsion Gel, which we learn was initially created as a fiberglass-based dietary supplement. Yeah, before it was being pulled off the shelves for what I would think are pretty obvious reasons. This stuff is so much fun to experiment with, bouncing off any surface that's coated in it. The combination of portals and gel takes things to a new level, and we're not even done learning the new mechanics yet. This game just doesn't lay it all out in the beginning. You earn it, and again, it all just feels natural. The mechanics aren't forced. The new things aren't just slammed onto you. They fit the narrative, and as you're playing through this insane world, it just makes sense now that you'd be finding a glorified paint that warps physics for you. I mean, this is Aperture. Why wouldn't that be here?
They're telling me I ought to stop making these pre-recorded messages. That gave me an idea. Make more pre-recorded messages. I pay the bills here, I can talk about the control group all damn day.
Anyways, the aesthetic of these old testing chambers is a nice departure from the white clinical walls of the modern facility. Seeing the wood and steel that makes up the structure helps give this area its own special atmosphere that retains the charm of everything that you've played through previously, but it changes it just enough that it feels completely new despite all of the familiarities. As you make your way further up through the facility, you do start to notice changes, though they're mostly conveyed through Cave Johnson's audio clips. The company starts to decline, and Cave does not take it well. The best and brightest test subjects have been replaced by homeless people, showing that the company's not doing quite so good these days.
Greetings, friend. I'm Cave Johnson, CEO of Aperture Science. You might know us as a vital participant in the 1968 Senate hearings on missing astronauts. And you've most likely used one of the many products we invented, but that other people have somehow managed to steal from us. Black Mesa can eat my bankrupt...
Sir, the testing?
Right. Now you might be asking yourself, Cave, just how difficult are these tests? What was in that phone book of a contract I signed? Am I in danger? Let me answer those questions with a question. Who wants to make $60 cash?
After hearing a little bit more about the company's woes, you eventually find GLaDOS. She's still alive, and still a potato.
Did you feel that? That idiot doesn't know what he's doing up there. This whole place is going to explode in a few hours if somebody doesn't disconnect him.
The plot begins to twist yet again here as GLaDOS catches herself responding to commands that Cave was giving to Carolyn.
Compensation vouchers ready?
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson. Why did I just... Who is that? What the hell is going on here?
About the same time you come to grips with the repulsion gel, you'll be introduced to another amazing Aperture product, propulsion gel. Now, this orange stuff makes anything that moves across it speed up exponentially, allowing you to move ridiculously faster through the chambers. And when you mix it with the repulsion gel, you can launch yourself over great distances. These gels combining with the portals can totally transform the way you look at all of the challenges in this game. And the game does make sure to put your mind to work moving forward. As the puzzles get more intense, you start to get a better understanding of the hard times that the company's faced, as well as some hilarious commentary from Cave Johnson about the latest test subjects.
Thank you. I can't believe I'm thanking these people. For staggering your way through Aperture Science's propulsion gel testing, you've made some real contributions to society for a change, and for that, humanity is grateful. If you had any belongings, please pick them up now. We don't want old newspapers and sticks cluttering up the building. For many of you, I realize $60 is an unprecedented windfall, so don't go spending it all on, I don't know, Carolyn, what do these people buy? Tattered hats? Beard dirt?
GLaDOS ends up questioning who Carolyn is before the reality sets in. She is Carolyn. She does not outright say it here, but it's made pretty clear.
Carolyn, why do I know this woman? Did I kill her? Or... Oh my god. Look, you're doing a great job. Can you handle things for yourself for a while? I need to think.
Eventually, Cave tells us that they've stopped hiring homeless people because now they've opted to start conducting tests on their actual employees. You know, a great way to save some money, I guess. Cave also lets us know that he's purchased moon rocks, around $7 million worth of them, and has turned them into a gel that allows us to create portals on its surface. And the moon rocks have also poisoned him. His health is clearly deteriorating.
There's still a few things left to wrap up, though. The bean counters told me we literally could not afford to buy $7 worth of moon rocks, much less 70 million. Bought them anyway, ground them up, mixed them into a gel. And guess what? Ground up moon rocks are pure poison. I am deathly ill.
After this, you start getting to incorporate the white portal gel, and that totally breaks the game completely open, letting you put portals on practically any surface that you can get the gel sprayed onto. Now, there's always been some restrictions in the game on where you can place portals, but getting to open that up just take things to a different level. It's easy to get lost in the time that you spend here on this portion of the game. I remember forgetting why I was even down here the first time I played through it. I was having so much fun with the new mechanics and the puzzles, and I just got totally wrapped up in hearing more about the early days of Aperture. When I started to realize where I was heading, I started feeling a little bit sad, because I wanted to experience more time with Cave. This character may be completely mad, but that's a big part of his charm.
Alright, I've been thinking. When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade.
Yeah.
Make life take the lemons back.
Yeah.
Get mad.
Yeah.
I don't want your damn lemons. What am I supposed to do with these?
Yeah, take the lemons.
Demand to see life's manager.
Yeah.
Make life rue the day it thought it could give Cave Johnson lemons. Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemons.
Oh, I like this guy.
I'm gonna get my engineers to invent a combustible lemon that burns your house down.
Burn his house down. Burning people. He says what we're all thinking.
Cave Johnson is responsible for everything that's going on in this game. And as we learn, he starts talking about putting human minds into a computer, and we discover that that was his plan to keep himself alive. But if he died before they could complete the project, he wanted Carolyn to take his place, even implying forcing her if necessary.
If I die before you people can pour me into a computer, I want Carolyn to run this place. Now she'll argue. She'll say she can't. She's modest like that, but you make her. Yeah, put her in my computer. I don't care. All right, test over.
This dark twist in the story shows the cruel and wicked side of Cave Johnson. This man has been so hilarious up to this point that I didn't realize while I was playing just how cruel he was until he lowered his tone and got serious as he came to terms with his own mortality. The one really cool thing that came out of this is now we've got our villain origin story for GLaDOS. I mean, she's an AI with the mind of Cave Johnson's final victim, Carolyn. Someone who trusted and believed in him, potentially murdered just so that her mind could be stuffed into this machine. GLaDOS may be evil, but seeing how this all came to be, you can really kind of feel sorry for her here. Once you get towards the end of the old Aperture facility, the tests become even trickier, making you use everything that you've learned to finally get back up into the more modern facility. GLaDOS seems more determined than ever here to take on Wheatley, and as we reach the final challenges to get out of the old Aperture, I feel sad. It was like walking away from a piece of history that would likely never be uncovered again. This facility was already so dangerous. Nobody would ever safely get back into it, let alone make their way back down to the old facility. Now, you're likely the last person that'll ever experience any of this. And Cave Johnson and everything that he achieved, and his failures, they're all going to be left to fade from history. But we have to move on. We have to stop Wheatley, or it's all going to be destroyed anyway. So we open up a lift, and we say goodbye to Cave Johnson. It's time to end this. Once you get to the top of the lift, we find ourselves in a basement level between the two here, where you can just kind of look off into what seems like infinity, seeing just how massive this place is yet again. There's miles and miles of facility here. GLaDOS has a plan. She's going to hit Wheatley with a paradox, knowing that it should fry his circuitry just trying to understand it. We get back into the testing facility to find box turrets. Wheatley has his genius on full display with his creepy turret crab things. You solve an insanely simple puzzle, and Wheatley comes back and decides that the paradox is true. These things don't work on total idiots, apparently. But then he tells us how desperate that he is to test, sending us off to solve some of his tests, which are, well, here, just see for yourself.
You'll notice the moat area there, very deadly, extremely dangerous. Eventually, it's not at the moment, but I'm working on it, still working on it. Impossible. Oh, yes. Oh, well done. Oh, that's tremendous.
Eventually, he decides that the best thing that he can do is find some other tests, since it's clearly too much work for him to be bothered with to make his own. I mean, not that he's bad or anything at them, mind you. We learned that the machine Wheatley is in is made to drive the core to test. And Wheatley has, unfortunately, discovered GLaDOS' stockpile of tests. You make your way through these test chambers, and They're some of the most difficult in the entire series. The mashups of test chambers being used to create insane challenges. The rush that Wheatley gets from these tests, they start to diminish as he goes, which only adds to his madness. He stops being excited when you solve the test and instead starts getting angrier, eventually moving a test chamber closer to himself as the moron thinks that somehow making it closer to him will give him that euphoric feeling again.
Might as well, give you the tour. To your left, you'll see some lights of some kind. Don't know what they do. Very sciencey. And to your right, something huge hurtling toward. Oh God, Rob! That's not supposed to be there. Are you all right back there? Here, I'll turn the beam off. Wait! Oh no! That's not helpful. I don't know why I thought that would help.
After seeing what he's done to my facility, after we take over again, is it alright if I kill him?
The tests here combine all the techniques that you've learned, and as you solve them, you hear the warnings that the facility is on the brink of self-destructing, despite Wheatley insisting that everything's fine. He eventually starts promising a big surprise that is pretty clearly a trap. Now, you progress before reaching the part where he kills you. I mean, that's the chapter name, the part where he kills you.
Hello, this is the part where I kill you.
Wheatley has abandoned testing now. He just wants to see you dead, and the cat and mouse game hits a new gear as you make your way through the facility, trying to dodge smashing spike plates, turrets, and everything else that the bumbling core can throw at you. All while making your way closer to his chamber. The pace picks up once you're no longer trying to get through tests and instead are back to fighting against the machine. Just like in the first game, the test chambers are fun and engaging, but the best time is really when you're out on your own just trying to find your way through the game in a more freeform style. Even though it's all such a clearly, expertly crafted experience, it feels like you are the one in control. It doesn't feel like it's holding your hand because the way the game is laid out, it just doesn't tell you how to solve everything on your own. You've got to figure it out without the game holding your hand through this, and that alone is a really rewarding feeling. Once you finally reach his chamber, GLaDOS tells you that if you can stun Wheatley, she can send corrupted cores to attach to him, hoping to force another core transfer so that you can put her back in control. GLaDOS has changed. She's grown and she seems kinda caring now. The two of you work together to corrupt Wheatley in a battle that's similar in many ways to the GLaDOS battle from the first game, but the climax here is far more dramatic. You've got Wheatley beaten when he lashes out, nearly killing Shell as the chamber you're in starts crumbling around you. And having learned about the moon rocks being used to create surfaces for portals, in a last-ditch effort of defiance, you fire a portal on the moon, creating a vacuum in the chamber. Wheatley ends up trapped in space as GLaDOS saves you just in the nick of time.
Let go! We're in space! Let go! I'm still connected! I can pull myself in! I can still fix this!
I already fixed it, and you are not coming back.
Oh no! Change your plans! Hold on to me! Tighter! Grab me!
She managed to take control of the facility in the midst of all the insanity that you caused with your moon portal. After this, GLaDOS thanks you and then deletes Carolyn from her system. At this point, the craziest thing happens here because GLaDOS keeps her word and she sends you up to the surface, letting you leave as the facility sends you off in style. You did it. The game's over and you finally escaped. You're still alive. And the best part, you're not alone. Portal 2's single-player story is a masterpiece. And that's not even all that this game has to offer. There's a full multiplayer campaign for the first time, allowing you to team with a friend and take on some of the wildest test chambers Valve has ever concocted. I'm not going to dare to cover that as well because this video is long enough as it is. And on top of that, there's also a perpetual testing initiative that's kind of like a Mario Maker for Portal, where players can create their own test chambers. You know, I still haven't dived into this, but someday I will. Who knows? I could end up streaming some time there and maybe even make a shorter video on the testing initiative. Who knows? This game has expanded the Portal universe. It took the franchise to a new level, and Portal as a franchise stands up as strong today as it did when it first came out. This franchise contains two of the best games that I've ever played, and even after all this time that I've spent working on this video, I really just want to jump back in and do more science. And really, isn't that what life's all about? If you're still here, thank you so much for checking out this video. It's been a huge jump to change my content from what I was doing before to these long-form video essay style projects. And the work here, it takes a lot more than I ever imagined putting myself into for anything for YouTube. But the truth is, I really love making these, and I hope to keep growing this channel so that I can continue to make more content like this. Now, if you've made it this far, please leave a like, because, I mean, I'm sure you didn't watch it this far out of hate, at least. I mean, maybe. Maybe you did. In that case, I guess leave a dislike. But I'd rather you leave a like. And drop a comment to let me know what you thought about it one way or the other. I genuinely want to know what you think so that I can work to make these videos better. Anyways, thanks for giving me this much of your time. Thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate all of you. I'm the Unhinged Gamer, and together, we've been thinking with portals.
So much space. Need to see it all.
I wish I could take it all back. I honestly do. I honestly do wish I could take it all back. And not just because I'm stranded in space.
I'm in space.
I know you are, mate. Yeah, we're both in space. Anyway, you know, if I was ever to see her again, do you know what I'd say?
I'm in space.
I'd say, I'm sorry. Sincerely. I am sorry I was bossy and monstrous. And I am genuinely sorry.
I'm in space.
The end.